So today we're going to be talking about the hot sheet and why you should be using the hot sheet. Kathy Baker was on the last phone call, and if she had been on this phone call or this training video, I was going to call her out and say, Kathy lives on that hot sheet. If I have a house go under contract personally, I have a message from Kathy the next morning saying, congratulations on your listing going under contract. She just checks that hot sheet like every morning. And first, she's just such a sweet person that she would reach out to me and congratulate me on my listing going under contract. But it also has shown me over the years that she really watches that hot sheet. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to share my screen and we're going to take a look at the hot sheet. So let me get back to the dashboard there. So you're going to find the hot sheet under the menu options, under daily functions. And again, I have clicked the star to the left of hot sheet because I use it so frequently. I wanted it to be up here on my banner running across the top of my MLS. So now I have it, and you can rearrange these. So if you ever want to rearrange them, there's a button to the far right called reorder, and you click on reorder, and then it will allow you to put these in the order that you want to use them most often. I'll tell you, the way I have mine organized is this is my big computer monitor that I have in the office, so everything fits across that banner. But when I'm on my laptop at home, it only displays over to contact management. And the rest of these are on a drop-down menu on my laptop just because my screen is not as large on my laptop. So I have actually sorted the ones I use most often over here to the left so that even when I'm on my laptop, I'm going to have my most used buttons available. So I'm going to go to Hot Sheet. It should tell you something that's my number one because I'm checking it all the time. And when I click on Hot Sheet, it's going to have saved my last search I ran. So the last thing I ran was a hot sheet for 24 hours for the city of Salem. Now what's going to show up on this is new listings in the city of Salem in the last 24 hours. Now it's going to show it in list style, but I can very easily go to the detailed tab and I can now see them in full detail on the right. Okay. Now, if I go back to Hot Sheet and I say, okay, well, I've checked City of Salem. Now I'd like to check Roanoke County Southwest or South. I can do that. I can also choose South and West, done, and I can run the 24-hour hot sheet. And there's going to be a list of all the ones that have come on the market or had a status change or had a price reduction. So you can see that Hartley Circle down here had a status change. It went from active to withdrawn. Don't know why. I could call the agent and find out. I can click the details page, and maybe I go down to that withdrawn one and I click on the MLS number to look at it, and perhaps there could be a note in here as to why it's been withdrawn and if it is coming back on the market. There's not, so instead I would reach out to this agent and ask this agent if it's coming back on the market. Now, if I go back to my hot sheet button, you'll see that Roanoke County South and Roanoke County West are still in there. That is because that was the last search I ran. Now, additionally, I didn't make any preference as to what property type I was choosing because I was interested in seeing land or multifamily or residential. But if I was only looking for multifamily, perhaps, I could put that in there and I could go ahead and add some other areas and I could search for multifamily only. Now again, this is only running a 24-hour search for status changes, new listings, price reductions. And so you'll see, because I'm looking in that niche market of multifamily, there are no search results right now. Now I'm going to go back to Hot Sheet and we're going to talk about, I'm going to reset the filters here go back to 0. And we're going to take a look down here at custom hot sheet. So I'm going to look at my custom hot sheet settings. And here's where I can have all of my settings, or I can run a saved search as a hot sheet. So what I'll show you, what I find very handy here, is I have a listing called a saved search called Ashley Riverfront, okay? This is where my husband and I have been looking for some riverfront property for about 5 years, mostly because we don't have riverfront property money right now. However, I would still like to just kind of keep it on my radar. We've got a little tiny house kind of shed thing in our backyard that is destined for a piece of land that has perhaps water deep enough to do a little kayaking in. That's a sort of retirement dream of ours. So I have this saved search in here called Ashley Riverfront. And I can go anytime I want and click on it here in the hot sheet and say run saved search hot sheet. And I can look and see what has come up in the last 24 hours. So here we see a new property has come up matching my search criteria. I can run through the photos and decide whether I think that looks like a suitable piece of property we'd like to go look at or not. So I can run a hot sheet directly from any of my saved searches. So these are all of my saved searches. I am very bad. 3/4 of these are people who have already bought a house. I deactivate them in my contact management, but I don't do my good housekeeping and go in and delete their saved search, which I should be doing. So I've got a lot on here. I certainly do not have this many buyers going on right now. A lot of these folks have found a house and have moved into their house. And often you'll see that I do a saved search for a specific property. This is 939 Lynchburg Turnpike. That's the house I currently own. But it was in foreclosure status way back in the day, 4 years ago before we bought it. And I wanted to keep tabs on it when it had a status change or a price reduction. So I did a saved search for specifically only that property so that I would get an email if it had a price reduction or a status change. Now, I need to do my housekeeping and get in here in my saved searches and delete all of these because obviously I live in that house now. So I do not need to still have that saved search. Now, if I want to look over here on the left, I can do preferences here and change from residential to multifamily to land. I can change my area. And this would be my quick search for the hot sheet. That's just a very quick way to look at a particular area. If somebody calls me and says, hey, Ashley, we really want our kids in North County. Can you take a look and see if there's anything available? This is a very quick way to say, all right, we're shopping from $100,000 to $250,000 in North Roanoke County. Let's run the quick search. Well, nothing came on the market last night in that price range. But perhaps I want to change this price range up here, this date range up here, and say it's gone on the market in the last, say, 2 weeks. And then I can put that in here and run the quick hot sheet search. And here's everything that has come on the market in the last 2 weeks in North County between $100,000 and $250,000. Now you see 4 of these are already under contract. 2 have been canceled. I may want to look at those. There's nobody competing for these houses now. They are canceled. If my client is interested in North County in that price range, I may want to be calling that agent out of professional courtesy and saying, hey, I see you canceled the listing. Now canceled means they have completely canceled the listing. It is not coming back on the market with that agent under this existing listing agreement. They would need to execute a new listing agreement to put it back on the market. But out of professional courtesy, I would probably reach out to that past real estate agent and say, hey, what's the deal on that? Would they still be interested in selling? Legally, I don't have to do that because canceled indicates to me that they have severed their agency relationship with that seller. by canceling the full listing agreement with them. If it's withdrawn, the agency relationship still exists and the home is just temporarily withdrawn. But canceled means they are finished with their agency relationship with that seller. But out of professional courtesy, I would probably reach out to that agent anyway. And then these active ones, that just means they've been on the market more than 3 days. You stay in the new listing status for 3 days, and then you just go to active. So I can, again, click on the photo tab or the detail tab, and I can go ahead and take a look down through these properties and see if any of these might work for my client. Anyone have any questions about any of that? It is a very handy tool. I'll tell you, I do use it on mobile more than I use it sitting at my laptop, because I have a bad habit, or maybe a good work habit, but bad life habit, of the first thing I do in the morning when my alarm goes off is I grab my phone and I hit the Hotsheet on my phone. It's just sort of how I wake up in the morning. And what I found is it actually kind of motivates me to get out of bed. When I see properties come on the market that are matching my clients' search criteria, I get excited, and it's probably too early to email them or text them, but I know about it and it gets me up, gets me moving on my day, and gets me crafting an email to them saying, hey, did you see this one that just came on the market? So that's sort of a, again, good work habit, bad life habit that I've gotten into. So I do hit that hot sheet button on my mobile phone every morning and just kind of look through what's happened in the last 24 hours. Is anyone else currently using the hot sheet in a regular way? Well, here's your challenge now.
I use it every morning. I come in and look at it, and just, especially if I have someone, like I have a client right now that's looking for property with a lot of acreage. Mm-hmm. And so if I have specifics that I know they're looking for, I will come on every morning just to make sure, to try to hit it before someone else does. So
yeah, I'm on the hot sheet all day.
Yeah.
It's just a quick 2 minutes, just kind of flipping through, because it changes all the time.
Mm-hmm. And it also is, when you talk to an agent who has been doing business for a long time, my dad would always talk about his gut feel. He just had a gut feel when he was actively selling a lot of real estate. He had a gut feel for what houses' values were. He had that because he went through so many houses and he saw so many houses, and he just knew what the market was demanding in certain neighborhoods for certain styles of homes. Right now, you're not going to be able to go look at 20 houses a week to get that gut feel, but you certainly can do that on the hot sheet. Back in the day, there were 5 very mediocre photos of a house that were darkly lit, and you couldn't hardly make out what was in the photos. It was a rough time back in the 2000s trying to sell houses. So
I'm sorry, but I remember the book when I first started.
Yes, there was a book.
That was a black and white.
And you had like one little thumbnail photo. Yes. And so we've come a long way. Now, if you live on that hot sheet a couple of times a day, checking the inventory, you're going to be able to really develop a sense of what the market is doing. And what I would recommend, if you're a new agent or a less experienced agent, is do a custom hot sheet for a certain area, and every week switch your area. So do North County for a week and just check the hot sheet 2 and 3 times a day for a whole week on North County, and just see what's happening in North County. Don't put any price restrictions on it or style of home restrictions on it. Just take a look at what North County is doing. Then the next week, do Botetourt County. And then the next week, do Roanoke County South. And just go ahead and start getting in your mind what the flavor of the market is in those areas. And that's going to give you some of that experience that will start to help shape your gut feel for the market. So that then, when you're at a PTA meeting and somebody says, hey, Ashley, we really want to be in Southwest County, but we don't want to ranch. And I say, great, well, what price range are you looking at? And they say, well, probably we can't spend more than $150,000. I already know that I can't find them a house. I cannot find a 2-story house in Southwest County for $150,000. They just don't exist. That market that market area demands more for houses there. So instead of saying, absolutely, I'm sure I can make that happen for you, and then being very embarrassed to come back and say, well, I was wrong. There is nothing in your price range in that area. I already know enough to be able to educate them right away. And I may say something like, I think that's going to be a tough find in Southwest County, but you might consider a renovated ranch that has a full basement that's been renovated and refinished in the basement area. That would give you the square footage you're looking for, but at a price point that you're able to afford.
Right.
And that is what makes you look like an experienced, seasoned agent who is knowledgeable about all the markets. And you don't have that anxiety like it's going to be pop quiz day when somebody starts talking to you about real estate, right? Anybody have anything about that before we move on? I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Questions, inputs, anything? Okay, we're just going to keep moving then. So my next topic I wanted to talk about is what to expect when you're new to real estate in regards to expenses for marketing properties. So, and Amanda added that she checked, I'm so sorry, we're going to back up just a hair. Amanda added in the chat window that she checks it every morning and every couple of hours. Good job. Good job. That's awesome. And it can be a little bit, I say real estate is a little bit like, it feeds the same part of my brain that I assume gambling would feed. Like I wake up every morning and I'm like, is today going to be a big winner day or not? Am I going to sell a house today or not? Am I going to make a lot of money today or not? And so it does continue to drive me. And that hot sheet is a little bit like that too, where I just keep hitting the button thinking, oh, now I'm going to find the property now. Nope. This time. Nope. So it can be a little addictive, but in a good way, because it helps you actively make money. So please continue to hit it, because Jennifer's right. It updates all the time and it is hardly ever the same. So moving on, what to expect with marketing expense when marketing properties. So when you're a new agent, it is very inexpensive to represent buyers. There really is no cost associated other than gas money and your time when representing buyers. So that is a very affordable way to start working with clients and not have to shell out a lot of money for photography and boosted Facebook posts and marketing the home with drone photography and expensive flyers and color copies and all the stuff that we tend to think comes with listing properties and representing sellers. There's certainly more affordable ways to market listings, but working with buyers is the least expensive way to go. Unless you're buying leads, which can be very expensive, then working with buyers is very, very inexpensive. So one great way to get clients is just to work open houses. If you volunteer to work open houses every Sunday for 3 months, you're going to gain a bunch of people to put in your database and start working those folks. You're going to start sending them emails. You're going to start, friending them on Facebook and sending them messages and properties to look at, and you're going to try to sell them a house. Now, when you get your first listing, there is some expense involved. It's going to involve a yard sign, a lockbox. It's going to demand photography. And I am here to tell you that I expect you to have stellar photos. You are not doing your seller any favors whatsoever with photos that are not sublime. I don't take my own photos. I used to. I'm not good at it. Donna is a great photographer. I would have no problem with Donna taking the photos for her listing. Me? Nope. I'm a great real estate agent. I am not a great photographer. I even have a fancy camera. Nope, can't do it. They do not look good. I don't know how to do lighting. I don't even know what time of day to go to get the best photos. So I hire that out, and I pay about $150 for photography, and I just have assumed that that is going to be the expense of me listing that house. There is some freedom to it once you give up on that and you go, look, that's just what I do. I just pay $150 for every listing to get dynamite photos. once I gave into that and decided to stop trying to shop that around or figure out a less expensive way to do it, once I just assumed that that is an expense that I'm always going to incur, now I've leaned way in on that. And that's part of my marketing campaign when I go into to advertise myself as their potential listing agent, is that I will always provide professional photos for their listing. And the photographer I use is excellent, very easy to work with, does not mind moving things off of the kitchen counter into the living room, taking the kitchen photos and then moving the things back into the kitchen. There are absolutely some tips for staging the house, as simple as just move the paper towel holder, just move the soap dispenser, just tidy up the towels on the bathroom rack. Move the toothbrushes to the hall table until you've taken the photo. And that might be a good idea for another little cheat sheet of a photo cheat sheet. So I am writing that down and I will make that up for you guys. I will say the first time my photographer ever helped me, we were unloading a kitchen to the stairs so that I could keep track of what area of the kitchen I'd gotten everything. And he started helping me unexpectedly. And then I had to text my sellers and say, it's going to look like a cat burglar's been in your house because we have not put everything back where we found it. I'm so sorry, but I promise everything's here. So try to keep track of where you're taking it so that when you put it back, it goes back in the same spot. Okay. Drone photography is handy in certain situations. I've had property that maybe has an acre backyard, a beautiful backyard. That's the perfect opportunity to use drone photography as well. If your house is in a very crowded subdivision and it's not going to do you any favors to have drone photography, don't go to the additional expense. It's not necessary. I have a house in Salem that just went under contract, but it has absolutely gorgeous mountain views behind it. Well, there was going to be no way to get shots of that without a drone. So I went to the additional expense to have drone photography done, and it made some beautiful photos. Who would like to weigh in on what they do for photos, if they hire a photographer or don't hire a photographer? Yes, please, Jennifer. I'm tired of hearing myself talk.
I now do hire a photographer. I was one that did my own photos. And I will admit, I have even done photos off of my new iPhone because they were better than my camera photos. So I've definitely been converted. I will never go back. It's just the ease of mind knowing that I'm going to get good shots really does your clients good. I mean, and they recognize that too. When you get the phone call that says, oh my gosh, my house looks amazing, you know you've done it. You know you've done your job, because those pictures, that's your curb appeal now. Everybody is shopping online instead of getting into the houses quickly. They're seeing them online first. So that's your curb appeal. So spending that extra money is so worth it up front.
Agreed. And then to spin that into turning them into a referral machine for you later, what I've really gotten in the practice of doing now is when I get that email from the photographer with all of the photos, I'm jumping right onto Vistaprint and I'm uploading them into a photo book. I don't have one to show you currently because I just gave the last one away, but I'm going ahead and loading them into a photo book. It'll do it for me. Its little robot machine in there just sorts all the photos and puts it, and I go ahead and put in my shopping cart on Vistaprint. Jennifer, will you put Vistaprint's website address in the chat window? Thank you. I'm going ahead and ordering an 8.5 by 11 hardcover photo book of those professional photos. And that's what's going in my gift basket at the closing table for my seller, because their house will never look that good again. When they get it ready for going on the market and they get it ready for the professional photographer to come in, it is as neat and tidy and beautiful as it will ever be. So I have had and it costs me, what I do is I put it in the shopping cart. I wait until, I've got 30 days, 45 days till the house closes anyway. So once it's ready to go in my shopping cart, I then wait around, because Vistaprint, once they have your email address, at least once a week, I get a coupon code from them. They email me and say, hey, 30% off today only. Well, that's then when I jump on and I take it from the shopping cart and I go ahead and check out with it. So I'm not spending more than about $39 or so with shipping included to get these hardcover photo books sent to me. So then that's what's going in my thank you basket, with maybe a little gift card and a handwritten thank you note and maybe some chocolate. And they absolutely love those photo books, and they're keeping them. That's the house where they first moved into. That's the house where they raised their kids. That, there are a lot of memories wrapped up in their home. So, oh, look, see, there's already a 25% off code in the chat window for Vistaprint right now. Way to go, Jennifer. So for me, that's just now my habit. I get the professional photos done. I upload them to Vistaprint and have the books sitting in my shopping cart. Once you get some method to your madness and you get a routine going of how you always do things, it just makes life that much easier. When I would have a real estate closing and I'd have to start from scratch on, okay, what am I gifting them? What's the gift going to be? What's the price point of the house? How much work did I do? It's exhausting, y'all. It's an emotional toll that I was having to go through every single time I had a closing. Now I know exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to do the photo book. I'm going to get them a gift certificate from a restaurant or a shop near their new house. That way I can support local. And a gift certificate from a coffee shop somewhere near their new house. And I'm going to put those in this gift basket. I've gone ahead and ordered baskets from Amazon. I've got about 12 baskets sitting in the storage room now, and a big box of that crinkle stuff. And I can just put together a basket now very, very quickly. And I can visit the area when I'm picking up the keys for closing, grab a couple of gift cards from local restaurants, coffee shops, etc., put them in the basket, and I'm going to write my thank you note, and I'm done. And I sold one recently here in Salem, and it's within walking distance to downtown Salem. So their gift basket actually had takeout beer from Old Salem Brewery. They had cans of beer. So it had 2 cans of Old Salem Brewery's beer in it, a gift card to there, a gift card to Mill Mountain Coffee and Tea, and a gift card to Frank's Pizza. That way they can walk to town, have dinner, have a cup of coffee on a Saturday morning, and it actually helps them also discover the local places in their new neighborhood. So that was very, very well received. I felt good about spending my money local. They felt good about receiving it, obviously. So, and the kids who got to look through the photo book and see their bedrooms at their old house, they loved that. So that is what I've landed on as my go-to gift now. And it's probably what I'll stick with for a long time, because it's taken me 20 years to get there. So, Samantha, do you have something to add? What do you do for your clients? She might not still be connected. Jennifer, how about you?
Well, I'm a little boring. I do gift cards to Lowe's to specifically when I give it to them, I tell them it's to change the locks to their doors.
That's awesome.
Yeah. That's what I do.
That's great.
But I like the shop local. Like, I'm big about that. So I may be switching things up a little bit depending on where the houses sell.
That's recent for me. Like, only in the last year have I been doing, I was doing the Lowe's card or Home Depot card for a long time. I think it'd be cute to look on Amazon and see if they've got any cute little locks with little keys. You could put that with your gift card.
Around Christmas time last year, I did get Hallmark ornaments. And my closings that I had last year, I did do Hallmark ornaments for their, I think it was a little house or something with the year on
That's
it.
Cute.
Or a key. Maybe it was a key. I don't know what it was. I did ornaments for those folks.
Cute.
Kind of cool.
Absolutely. I have enjoyed the shop local. Like, I don't know why it took me that long to get there, but
we both had local. We should have known that.
We should have. But Home Depot and Lowe's is always a good idea. There's always, you're a new homeowner now. You're always going to be running to one of those places for something.
My thing is the door locks. You would think people think about that, but they really don't.
Mm-mm.
And you don't know how many keys are out there. On one of the Facebook groups that I'm on, an agent yesterday was actually talking about how they had sold the house and he was the buyer's agent. And the listing agent called to say, hey, my seller just said he had something delivered to the house. It's showing that it was delivered there, but he went by there and it's not there. And the guy's like, well, I'll check on it, but also your employee, your seller's employee came by and let themselves in my buyer's house. That can't happen. And I'm like, why did they not change their locks? Like, are people not doing that?
Did they not know their employee had moved, or what's the situation?
Yeah, I think the seller sent him to look for the package.
That's a big yikes.
So I always talk about door locks. I mean, that's just
great.
a big thing for me. My husband is, I won't say he's paranoid, but he is very aware of bad things happening in the areas. So he's big on locks, big on door locks. Change those locks.
Yep, agreed.
I had with one of my clients, whom I'm getting ready to list their house. We noticed when they were there that the smoke detector was really outdated. It wasn't great. I think it still worked, but it was just older. So when in their basket, I gave them a Lowe's gift card, but I said, use this to get you a new smoke detector. The last one, I gave them a Lowe's gift card, and I said, they had just been talking previously on the walkthrough that they had to go to Lowe's, some piece of, I think woods or something to fix a place in the house they wanted to do. And I gave them a Lowe's gift card, but I also gave them, they had 2 dogs, and they were, they loved those fur babies. So each of the puppies got a chew toy in the basket because that's their children. And so
that is adorable.
That went, and they loved that. They loved that.
Very sweet. Okay, so let's talk about other marketing expenses you're going to be accruing when you are a listing agent. So if you're going to have an open house, or you're going to let another agent work an open house at your house, you're going to do a Facebook post from your Facebook business page, and then you're going to share it over to your personal page. And then you may opt to boost that post. I typically spend about $20 boosting an open house post, and I want it to run for at least 3 days. So I'm going to spend about 20 bucks on that. I'm here to tell you that it used to cost about $120, $130 to run it in the Roanoke Times for an open house ad for 3 days. So this has dramatically changed how we market open houses. I don't even put them in the newspaper anymore because it's just too expensive. So now I list it on Realtor.com and Zillow as an open house by putting it on our MLS as an open house. So when I list the open house on the MLS, it's going to flow out to Realtor.com and Zillow. I double check both of those just to make sure. And then I make a post on Facebook and I boost it. Now, it can be a little tricky to boost a Facebook post, and I will make a little video of that and put it on YouTube to show how to do that. They changed where we have to be listed as a special category, and housing is the special category. Because of that, sometimes people struggle to get the post boosted. You can also set up an event for the open house, and you can advertise the event and pay to advertise the event. Again, I don't think you need to spend more than $20 to advertise it. You can try $10. You can try $7. Because we're housing, you're not able to restrict the audience the way we used to be able to because of fair housing regulations. We realized that while we were restricting what audiences by age and by socioeconomic income, we were inadvertently exposing ourselves to fair housing violations. So Facebook has changed it now where you may not restrict the viewing audience for your target audience. Because also in Virginia, elderliness is a protected class. So if I decide to restrict my viewing audience to a certain age bracket, I may be inadvertently committing a fair housing violation against the elderly, which is a protected class. So now we are a special group on Facebook, and we have to check that box. So I'll make a Facebook video of how to do it and put it on the YouTube channel so that everybody can walk through how to do that. Likely you've probably already done it and stumbled your way through it, as I did. So hopefully this will help folks who haven't done it yet. Once you have done that, you can make it a sponsored ad You can continue to market it if you're just doing a generic boosted post about your property, maybe with additional photos instead of an open house one. And then also when you are an agent, you might be buying leads. You can actually buy seller leads. They're more expensive. And usually there is not a company who's exclusively doing seller leads. But if you're already buying leads from a company, talk to them about whether seller leads are something you can specifically buy. Because listings are, I like to say listings are more money to get on the market and buyers are more time. So you're going to spend more time with a buyer than you're going to spend with a seller. But the seller is going to cost you more money. You know, when I work with a buyer and I close them out, other than gas money, I really have not spent any cash on that buyer. But for a seller, I'm going to have spent several $100s or more marketing that property and getting the photography done. So it's going to cost me more money, but it's going to cost me less time. I'm going to have a lot of upfront time working with a seller and more money, more cash outlay, but I'm not going to spend as much time with that seller. In fact, I might be, you know, hanging in the backyard with the kids on a Saturday afternoon and I get a call that we've got an offer coming in. So I benefit from those buyer's agents running around town, showing my properties and trying to sell them for me but I'm going to clock more hours late at night, getting my photos just right, labeling all my photos, making sure I've got all my listing documentation in place. So it's, you know, it's a different allocation of time versus money, depending on whether you're working with a buyer or a seller. So another thing you may go to the expense of when you represent a seller is you may be doing some mailers. So you may be sending out postcards announcing your new listing. You may be buying address lists. I would recommend that you use our YouTube video we already created on how to use CRS tax info that's attached to our MLS to get address lists. You get up to 4,000 addresses as free downloads from CRS tax data, and then you can take that into something like Prospects Plus and have a postcard mailer done. So this was a property of mine. I sent out these postcards. Here are 3 that came back to me with the addresses that didn't work. And these are, it was about $225, I think, to send out about 384 of these postcards. And that included the postage. So they made the postcard, they printed the postcard, they addressed the postcard, and they paid the postage on it. And I paid about $250 to send those out. Now this is a luxury home. It's a more expensive home. It was listed at $529,000. So I know then I have a very small market of people who would be able to afford and want this home. So I'm going to go to a little more expense marketing that home than say a $180,000 brick ranch, where I know there will be lots and lots of people wanting to shop for that home. And simply putting it on the MLS may be enough to move a $180,000 brick ranch. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, anybody have anything to add about that? Okay, well, we're gonna go on to our last bit, which is Q&A. Anybody have anything to add, anything to ask? Anybody have any questions? Now is your chance. Or also in 5 minutes when you just call me on the phone.
I have a question for you.
Hello, please, Andrea.
So I went to the RVAR yesterday to get set up with MLS and all that good stuff. I guess I was a bit confused as to how they split up the year as far as your beginning cost.
Mm-hmm.
So she's like, you know, if you pay in October for the entire year, it's like $1,000 something, right? But she's like, but for you, it'll still be like $700 for the remainder of the year. So I was a bit confused how that kind of works out.
So the biggest part is that when you first join the local association, the Roanoke Valley Association of Realtors charges a $300 new member fee. You will never pay it again unless you go inactive for a long period of time and reactivate. So
Gotcha.
that's a $300 new member activation fee. So that was on top of, so when you paid $700 and some yesterday, 300 of that was just to become a member.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
every January, we all owe our annual dues for Roanoke Valley Association of Realtors, Virginia Association of Realtors, and National Association of Realtors. And I believe that totaled about $570 or so in January for all of us. So we all are going to pay that in January, and you will also pay that in January. But to join this year, you had to pay the $300 new member fee, plus you needed to pay for October, November, and December of this year. And our VAR actually prorates their fees monthly, but VAR and NAR only prorate their fees quarterly. Now, it wouldn't have mattered specifically for you because you're paying for the whole quarter, the whole fourth quarter. But for anyone who wants to join in November or December, I actually sometimes recommend they wait until January, because they would be paying October, November, and December for NAR and VAR when they're only going to be licensed for November and December. So you got in just under the wire where I think it's still worth it to join.
Okay.
Next month, I'm probably going to be telling people, why don't you just wait until January? Because otherwise you're paying for 3 months and only using 2 months.
Right.
But that $300 fee you paid as a new member, you will not pay again. So you'll be paying the same amount we all pay in January because you'll be an existing member. Now, Deepak is saying $660. Is that what we paid in January, Deepak?
This was due starting today.
Oh, is that our new bill?
Yeah, that's the new bill. And then I paid yesterday, so save that $50.
Okay.
So
That $50 idea was my idea.
well, good job.
I was sitting in a work group, and I said they were always trying to get us to have a longer period of time to pay the dues. So if you paid early, I said, well, can we at least just have some sort of discount if you do pay early? So now it's $660. Deepak, that probably includes the $30 fair share to RPAC, which is the Realtor Political Action Committee.
Yep, it did. Voluntary.
Okay. And I would encourage you, if you can afford it, to pay the $30 fair share for RPAC. RPAC is our lobbyist group, and they do a lot of work on the Hill, making sure we're all still able to do our job. But that is an optional fee. You do not have to make a $30 fair share contribution to RPAC. I actually pay at the $1,000 level. I've been doing that for a few years now, just because I am so active in the associations. And yesterday I got a pin in the mail. I got my silver pin in the mail. And one of my kids, of course, was like, that pin's worth $1,000? And so I had to explain that, no, I'm paying to a lobbyist group to help keep us in business and to help keep the interests of homeowners at the top of the list of things that Congress needs to be fighting for. So Amanda's adding that we have until November 2nd to pay for 2021 and to receive the $50 discount. So I would, except for poor Andrea, who just paid yesterday, if you can afford to pay again before November 2nd, you can save $50. But you know, that's a lot of money to outlay right now. So you, of course, can wait until January to pay again. So Andrea, we're just going to work hard to get you a contract before December so that it'll have been worth joining for the last quarter. Okay.
Amen, sister. Let's do it.
We'll do it. Okay. So anybody have any other questions? I'm going to stop.
I forgot.
Please, Deepak, what were you saying?
I did. I forgot what the question was.
Well, I'm going to stop recording and